My last question, and this goes back to your father, was one of the one candidate who brought this up. I literally, it's rare to hear a politician talk about Native Americans for 10 minutes, at a rally. Usually they hit their constituencies, but Native Americans not one of them. Your father has been one of the leading people against the Dakota Access Pipeline, not only because of the environmental risks, which they're documented, but
Sure.
because we can't keep stomping on the sovereignty of Native Americans. We've already done enough of that. It seems to me, let's not even get into the Republicans. The Democratic Party has not said much about this. Frankly, Elizabeth Warren, who has talked about her Native heritage, has been very silent on this issue.
Sure.
At this point, it looks like it's pretty. The pipeline's probably going to go through, give or take some last-minute legal measures. But to me, it's a lot. It's about a lot more than a pipeline. To me, it's ground zero for the progressive movement because you literally have under the longest river in America a giant crude oil pipeline that, if it breaks, which it probably will, or spill somewhat, you're jeopardizing 18 million people who drink downstream, all for a big oil company to make money offshoring it. It's not even used for domestic energy. What do you think's at stake here?
Well, Jordan, let's just look objectively speaking in terms of why is it that we can't get the American public on our side on this issue? It's really quite remarkable. You have a situation where the Bundy folks ultimately who engage clearly in criminal activity are acquitted by a jury ultimately. And if you look at a lot of people, ultimately they're considered saviors and heroes. But you have all these amazing, incredibly courageous Native Americans and all these other, even the issue in terms of all these veterans who are doing this incredible work, and yet we can't get the media involved. When Susan Sarandon asked the real question to Chris Hayes, why are you not addressing this issue and talking about this issue every day? Chris just kind of said, well, listen, we do a little bit, but we don't really, I don't even know what his answer. It really was quite remarkable. I couldn't even really understand what he was trying to say. He's basically, we talk about it a little bit. We have so many other issues to deal with. No, Chris, this is a serious issue that needs to be addressed because it's having profound effects on people's livelihood. And obviously, unintended consequences are going to be extraordinary. So, as you said, but the bottom line is you make a great question. Politicians, for whatever reason, don't consider this a sexy issue. And this is, again, a real issue in terms of why it is that increasingly we, as Americans, need to push back and say this is unacceptable. These are issues that directly affect people, and we demand that politicians, be involved and address this issue head on.
Yeah, I think it goes back to the same theme we've been talking about. It's been incredibly shocking to me how many people do not even know about the Dakota Access Pipeline and don't even know really much about fracking or the risks. I mean, I've met so many people or are misinformed and think, oh, it's not really on native land and, oh, this is the safest way, because a lot of these media outlets basically report by reissuing press releases from the energy companies. So, yeah, that's interesting. And my last question, to me, even though there's been no significant electoral victories yet, and we could get into why that is,
Sure.
it seems like it's not really if, it's when the progressive movement starts putting W's on the board. I mean, the momentum is there. The people are there. A lot of these people out during the resistance against Trump are the same people that, showed up 28,000, 30,000, 40,000 for Senator Sanders. What do you see in terms of the next 2 years, 3 years for the progressive movement? Do you see victories coming? What do you think?
Well, it's interesting, and I don't know. Obviously, you pay attention. Increasingly, you're going to have victories, and it's going to have to start locally. In terms of school board, city council, whatever. And then I think what will happen is there'll be tremendous momentum that have occurred. But, obviously, small victories are extremely important. So, throughout the country, you just have so many, passionate individuals, so many people who are so learned and so have a real desire to make substantive change. So I think basically what you're going to have is you're going to have small changes, and increasingly what's going to happen is the Democratic Party is going to begin to wake up and realize ultimately that we need all of these folks, in the Democratic Party, or as you've articulated, other people, that the Democratic Party will at a certain point be minimalized, and at a point that basically people will not take it that seriously because they will say, listen, what is the difference between the Democratic and Republican Party. So hopefully the Democrats will stand up and say ultimately everybody's entitled to be counted, that we wanted a big tent party, and or you're going to have a situation where basically people are going to say, listen, we're disgusted, and that we're going to start a third-party movement. And I think that we need to give people a little bit chance in terms of the Democratic Party, but I think Democratic Party is beginning to wake up and understand that it's imperative that we understand that everybody is entitled to a say in what goes on, and not just corporations and politicians who aren't necessarily really reaching out to working class and average people.
Thank you, Levy Sanders. I am definitely going to follow up on those two stories you mentioned. I didn't even know about the Alabama thing. You see, this is the problem with the media. As always, Sanders' family informs the public about what's going on. And the last thing I'll say, personal favor, tell your father, God bless him. I know he loves jank, but feel free to give Jordan a chance. I'd love to interview him one day. Anytime he wants, I will come to Senator Bernie Sanders' office. I'd love to talk to him specifically about the issues. He just did a great Facebook thing today with Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Yep, saw that.
So I love the fact that he is one of the few politicians that doesn't regurgitate talking points all day, and we could actually talk about issues.
Also, Reverend Barber, as you know, he does some really amazing stuff, and I don't know, that's not getting enough attention either in terms of Moral Mondays. There's a whole host of other issues, some incredible stuff. I mean, we talk about North Carolina and some amazing stuff what's happening right now in North Carolina. They're basically doing tremendous work in terms of really taking on an extraordinarily conservative system and a racist system. So there's a whole host of issues.
Levy, I'm going to reprimand you because you haven't been watching enough TYT politics. We've covered, I don't even know how many of Reverend Barber's rallies and Moral Mondays. Our cameraman down there in D.C. has been going down there a lot, so I'll send you those videos.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Jordan. I do work about 78 hours a week, but I will let you know that I definitely appreciate your educating me on that. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks so much for taking the time.
All right, thanks.